Yo, what up, Street Dogs? Eric Kim. Alright, the Turbo Thought. How to become a happier photographer. So the question is, how have I never met a happy photographer, especially those who are extremely successful, you know, Magnum photographers, you know, people with trillions of followers, whatever have you, people with all their cameras and equipment. I've never met a photographer who feels happy and fulfilled. Now, I think dissatisfaction is good if you could channel that dissatisfaction in a positive, optimistic way, but it actually looks like most photographers, especially the upper echelon photographers, tend to be just kind of more of like depressive, kind of more like you know, nihilistic or pessimistic, and a lot of them are hanging on the laurels of the past, meaning you know, they're famous for their past photographer photos rather than their present photos, and they think that the best is behind them rather than the best being yet to come. Even when you look into the psychology of photographers like Henri Cartier-Bresson, you know, I don't think he was happy. Maybe he was happy in the early days, but towards the end of his career, he essentially gave up photography and just, you know, was like, oh, photography is, you know, inferior to drawing, and he just drew for the rest of his life until he passed. So it's quite sad because, you know, Henri Cartier-Bresson, who has up until now been the GOAT, the greatest of all time, he himself was pessimistic about photography. Now, what are we to do as photographers? So certainly happiness is good in photography because it is the great motivation and stimulus for us to continue doing it. And my thought is, as long as you're still making new photos, consider yourself a happy photographer, where you're still kind of curious and passionate about photography. And I think that's the two hardest things to keep, especially as you get older as a photographer and more experience, is to keep up your passion and your curiosity. And how does one stay passionate and curious? I think to demetricate yourself, deleting my Instagram in 2017 was the best thing I've ever done for my own personal happiness, disabling comments, views, and stuff like that. And it's helped me stay focused on making images which I feel like are interesting and innovative. And, you know, certainly all photographers and artists eventually want to share their artwork with somebody else. And the problem with Instagram social media is that the algorithm is playing with our emotions for monetary gains, which is, you know, not a good thing. And what I encourage is, yeah, if you really want to become the best photographer of all time or a greater photographer, via negativa, you know, getting rid of stuff is probably the best. You know, deleting Instagram or figuring out some sort of way that you could demetricate the social medias is a good idea. Also, I think seeing progress in our photography is a way for us to become happier. And how do we see progress? To see progress as a photographer is to, I think it's actually to, you know, the Steve Jobs whole Earth catalog quote, "Stay hungry, stay foolish," is probably the best advice that I've heard. You know, imagine like to stay hungry, right? Always strive and prosper, ASAP. Hunger is predicated on, you know, letting yourself obviously go hungry, but also working out more and doing more activities which stimulate your hunger. And so hunger for new experiences, hunger for new compositions, hunger for new sights, and, you know, certainly consuming the best photos of all time. That's why, you know, just Google Eric Kim, learn from the masters, and just read up on that stuff, because, you know, to study the greatest photographers of all time is a good stimulus for us to become more hungry, and also to have the audacity to seek to become greater than them. So, you know, I think life is about progression. Always be hungry, stay foolish.